Ladies and gentlemen, our final business session from survival to sustainable growth and profits in cashew. Because at the end of the day, it's always a thin line. There's this constant tussle between sustainability and economic viability. It's something that every business struggles with. So we have some esteemed speakers for this panel, and I would like to first start with a video. Do we have the Torq video online? Our session sponsors.
In the heart of the global cashew industry, where tradition meets innovation, lies the essence of Torq. The global cashew industry faces multifaceted challenges: environmental sustainability, complex supply chains, and unpredictable market dynamics. Through dynamic marketing strategies and engaging community initiatives, Torq actively promotes the cashew industry on a global stage. Professionalism at Torq is defined by cutting-edge technology, a skilled workforce, and unwavering commitment to quality. Torq champions parity, ensuring fair practices for farmers and stakeholders alike, nurturing a sustainable and equitable future. Milestone achieved by Torq Commodities, agri-commodities, 30,000 metric ton, cashew, 14,000 metric ton. Current manpower strength, more than 200 plus global associates. Torq is dedicated to reshaping the future of the cashew industry. Join us in this journey towards a sustainable, professional, and equitable tomorrow.
I would now like to invite on stage the sessions chair, Mr. Kalbavi Prakash Rao, the Managing Director, Kalbavi Consumer Foods Private Limited. Let's give him a round of applause as he joins us up here. Mr. Kalbavi Prakash Rao is no stranger to the World Cashew Conference. In fact, one of the most well-known figures across board in the cashew value chain. His company, he ventured into entrepreneurship by establishing a cashew processing industry in Mangalore in 1987. And since then, Kalbavi Consumer Foods Private Limited has evolved into a prominent player in the retail sector, showcasing its brand across modern retail stores and e-commerce platforms. Mr. Rao played a pivotal role in the Karnataka Cashew Manufacturers Association for over 12 years, serving as secretary and later as president. His influence extended to the national level as he served as an industry representative and advisor on the panel for the inaugural cashew project by Sepsi Laboratory under the National Agricultural Innovative Project. In 2020, he assumed the role of founder chairman for CII Mangalore District and presently serves as the convener for the CII State Council panel on agri and food processing. Welcome, sir. I invite you to be seated. Our next speaker, our speaker for this session, Ms. Sweta Jain from Valency International. Sweta Jain serves as a business head for Cashew at Valency and has been associated with this company since 2017. Apart from leading the cashew business, she has additional responsibility for global bulk marketing, retail marketing, factory productivity, and digital productivity. A very warm welcome, Ms. Jain. Please be seated. Our next speaker is already online with us. He has been online for quite a while. I already talked about him yesterday. Let me share some quick details about him. Mr. Vasudev Barkur is online with us, and he is with ETG. He has worked as a group finance controller for an international logistics company for 3 years and was instrumental and developed and set up a financial accounting system and processes across East African region. He joined ETG in 1997 as CFO and has been a core management member since then. As all of you are aware, ETG is a leading international player in agriculture supply chain, and they are one of the most respected commodity players in Africa and in international agri sector. Retired from Group CFO position in 2018, Mr. Barkur currently the CEO of Nutrisco, which is essentially revolving around food ingredients and nutrients with a turnover of approximately $1 billion and a presence in 24 countries. Our next speaker, I would like to invite them on stage now. Mr. Abel Santos Sáez, the Managing Director, Intersnack Cashew Company Private Limited. Mr. Abel Santos Sáez is the Managing Director and COO of Intersnack Cashew Company, heads from Singapore. The entities has holdings in Vietnam, India, and Ivory Coast. He's an MSc Chemistry. He's an MSc Chemistry from Salamanca University, Spain, and Bern University, Switzerland. Also holds an MSc in Marketing and Sales Management by ENA, Spain. Accumulating over 2 decades of experience in best-in-class organizations like Mars, Kellogg's, 15 of them in board positions of these companies, having lived in various countries like Germany, UK, Spain, Netherlands, and Singapore. He's a confessed cashew lover who believes that cashew sector can provide a bright future for everyone involved in the supply chain. A very warm welcome to you, sir. With this is the final business session of the day. So all the applause that you're withholding, you might as well get over with it in the next 1 hour. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gaurav Patil is our next guest on the stage. He's the Vice President for Olam Food Ingredients and heads the global processing of cashews for Olam Foods. He has spent more than a decade in international commodity trading and has been a part of edible nuts and food ingredients domain. Mr. Gaurav joined Olam after completing his post-grad MBA from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade and thereafter has worked in various capacities of international trade. Ladies and gentlemen, with his exposure to agribusiness in Olam, he has good domain expertise in RCN and cashew kernel trading, mechanized cashew processing, sustainability, and ingredient solutions. Presently based in HCMC, Vietnam, and actively supporting agri-communities to develop cashew industries across geographies. Our final speaker for this session is Mr. Rengarajan, Director India Corporate Office, Torq Commodities. Mr. Rengarajan is a master mariner with over 3 decades of experience in shipping, logistics, and international commodity trading expertise in container terminal and shipping line logistics. Academic qualifications, bachelor's degree from St. Joseph's College, Tiruchirappalli, PG, a postgraduate in management from Institute of Management Technology, Ghaziabad, and MBA from Liverpool John Moore University, UK. He's a co-founder of Auburn Ship Management, Excelsior Logistics, Rhyme Trading, and Torq Commodities, experience in trading, managing supply chain of soybean, sesame, RCN, dry ginger, and various other agri-commodities. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Rengarajan. A sailor at heart, but an entrepreneur by profession. Our final speaker this evening is Mr. Daniel Gamena, the President for Nigeria Cashew Processors Association. He's not here with us. With this, I leave this session in the hands of our session's chairperson, Mr. Kalbavi.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Ruchika, for putting all that energy on the stage. I'm sure at the end of this session, you're going to reveal what's the secret of this energy. I'm sure it's going to be cashews. Yes, this is the last session for the day, and I'm sure all of you will be able to, understand where the industry status is. I've been attending so many conferences for the last 10 to 15 years, but I must admit, never have I seen the mood so low as I'm seeing in the last couple of years. And that's the reason why the organizers, Srivatsava, is giving us this topic. From survival, we need to now look at sustainable growth, see how we can bring in profits to this cashew industry. So I would like to, as a moderator, just very briefly try to put in some context into this topic. Can I have slides, please? Yes, opening slide. So in order to understand what we did, we need to go a little bit into our history and have a look at, how the industry has done from 1970 to year 2000. Little bit of the history. 100% manual processing. Of course, Brazil is excluded from this. They were mechanized right from the word go. In terms of process innovations, we had very minor process innovations coming, very marginal improvements in the process, but they were continuously evolved. And India, Vietnam remained the major processes. Vietnam, I think, got into manufacture around 1980s. They were exporting the cashews before that. And Africa, even to this date, has remained the major producer. In terms of marketing of cashew kernels, I think there has been no efforts initially from any body, particularly maybe the industries on their own, but we were focused purely on selling. Kernel consumptions, well, right now I think the figure that everyone's talking about is that we've been growing constantly about 5 to 6% per annum. So if you look at the supply demand for the raw cashew nuts, for a good part of this time, we were short on raw cashew nuts, and we were always buying the raw cashew nuts at a slight disparity. In terms of supply demand for kernels, as I mentioned, we were at minor disparity, occasionally getting into parity in the months. Liquidity for the kernels were pretty good in the export markets. There wasn't no issues in terms of selling, but we were struggling for survival. And what's the balance that we could see in terms of the raw cashew production, in terms of the processing capacity and the global consumption? I think they were pretty much more balanced than what we are at today. This is where I say the balance of the production, processing capacity, and the consumption was still in balance. Next slide, please. So if I have to look at the global production of, in terms of the growth of the raw cashews, West Africa, I am now referring to 2000 to 2023. In 2000, approximately 8.5 lakhs, 850,000, and they were 42% of the total world production. If you look at them today, it's 3 million, and it's 55% of the total global production. If you look at India, 450,000, which was at that time 22% of the global production. We are now dropped to 13% at 750. We did not grow with the global production. Vietnam was 300,000 tons, which was 15%. And I am putting it at 550,000 now, but I think earlier we heard it's less than that, probably around 400,000 tons at this point, but so it's around 10%. East Africa was 180,000 tons. Mozambique, Kenya, and Tanzania now are about 8% of the global production at 400,000 tons. Brazil was 225, it's dropped substantially. I do not know the exact figures, probably I put it at 120,000 tons. Indonesia from 40,000 to 70,000 tons at 1.5% of the global production. The new champions are the Cambodia. That's the reason why we are all here today. Cambodia has come center stage in their global, in terms of their production, raw cashew production, at 650,000 tons. They are now already 12% of the global production. Next slide, please. So in terms of production from manual, we have actually seen the transition to a total mechanized manufacture. In India, we almost say we are 70% mechanized. There are still pockets which are not completely mechanized. And I think it's 100% automated. Today we heard Tyson saying that they could even process any volume. They're very well prepared for taking the production higher there. 20%, 200% increase in the processing capacity is what we are seeing now from 2 million tons. We are having this ability to process almost up to 6 million tons. We have the installed capacity for 6 million tons. So if you look at the raw cashew production growth from 2 million to 5.5 million, so it's almost grown 175%. In terms of the cashew kernel consumption growth, we've seen 130% growth. There is a gap in terms of the growth. India has seen 100% growth, but if you put all the rest of the world together, it's seen 130% growth. So in terms of supply to raw cashew supply to the cashew consumption, we are seeing a gap. We are not grown in terms of the supplies have been a little bit in terms of excess. Consumption is not picked up. What happened to that balance that we had earlier? So now, where is the gap? Next slide, please. So did we do anything wrong? I think one thing that I want to see whether we can deliberate today is the producing nations. And when we look at the three pillars of this cashew, Vietnam today is undoubtedly the leader in terms of manufacture at 3 million tons. India is undoubtedly the consumer, the world's largest consumer at 400,000+ tons. And Africa is definitely the world's largest producer in terms of raw cashew nuts. We have not coordinated amongst ourselves. We just managed the scenario, and that's where I say that Africa has grown huge. We saw that huge increase in the raw cashew production, but I'm sure the manufacturers were totally caught unaware in terms of the scale of raw cashew growth. Now, processors still managed to process all that was produced because thanks to the mechanization, we could easily manage to process because it's just about machines. There's no longer a restriction in terms of the labor availability. But processors and producers fail to market. Industry is struggling to get its right business model today. Nobody knows what is the right model for us to do. Is it small, big, medium? What do we do? What do we need to do to bring in that profit into the business? How big should we grow? So I think also in this process, the producers are let down because we've seen the prices of raw cashew nuts, literally coming down from $1,700, $800 to $1,100, $200 that we're seeing now. And we are also seeing huge marketing spends with our other competing nuts, which has resulted in more stability, bringing more stability into them. Of course, the prices of other nuts also has come down for them. It's now for us to understand how do you replicate this story for the cashew to bring in the profits. Next slide, please. This is the spends that we are seeing. Of course, I have picked this up from the net. May not be very accurate. The almond board is spending $100 million US. Pistachios, I'm surprised to see $360 million. Probably I'm not very correct there. Walnuts, $22 million USD. Figs are $40 million, but cashews, none, zero. In terms of, there's no body, so therefore, I'm not seeing any investment that's coming in to promote cashews. Next slide, please. So this is what we are seeing in terms of how the other nut consumptions have grown. So if you see almonds, I'm looking at the per capita consumption, per year. If you look at 2011, 10 years, if you look at 2011 to 2027, from 170 grams, they have gone globally to 226%. Pistachios, we have seen an increase of 34%. Walnut, we have seen an increase of 17%. Figs, we have seen 35%. But in spite of zero spend on cashew, we've still grown 61%. If you look at the consumption, this is a little bit of a point that we need to understand. We've grown, we have sold, We have manufactured, we have produced that volumes, but we have sold, but none of us are happy. The farmer is not getting what he thinks he should get. The manufacturers are not getting the margins and the profits. Who's the winner? Let's look at the next slide. So who benefits from the promotion? If you see, whenever, of course, the industry in globe, as far as cashew is concerned, I'm sure is very efficient now, and the markets are very, very competitive. So whenever the conversion is faster, the consumers benefit, as we are seeing now. Our conversion is quick, and the consumers are having it fantastic. They're seeing the 10 years low, the 15 years low, as far as cashews are concerned. But whenever the demand for the finished goods is big, it's the farmer who gets this benefit. So how do you create the demand for the finished goods? I think when you look at who benefits by marketing, I'm coming there, that the end of the story is there is no way we can grow sustainably without marketing, and who benefits from that. So if you look at the global supply of the raw seeds, Africa is almost 60 to 65% in terms of the global production. India is 12 to 13%. Vietnam is 10%. We've gone through these figures. So it's obvious that if we focus on marketing, that these countries, these farmers are going to be very, very sustainable in terms of the growth. And I'm not saying there is going to be an end of the story here. The growth for cashew is real. The potential for growth is real. It's just that we need to now cooperate. The time for competition is out. I think the time for collaboration is in, and we need to collaborate, and we need to work together. We had so many sessions in the morning and yesterday on collaboration, on supply chain management, everyone saying how we need to work together. And to do these deliberations, we have a fantastic panel. We have experts from raw seeds. We have the ETG is the largest commodity player for this. So we have Abel Santos, who is also on the biggest brand for cashews in Europe. So I think we are in for a very good deliberations here. So at this point, I would now like to go to my panel and see each of them are going to make a presentation, and then we'll have an interaction. And probably you also can come out with your questions, and we can bring in something that is deliverable at the end of this session. To begin with, let me invite Sweta Jain from Valency. Ladies first, of course. So let's hear what she has to present. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Kalbavi, for such an insightful presentation. I think that really summed up, and it's a great lead for me as well. Just calling in the slides. Yeah, so today's topic is extremely interesting, and I know we all want to understand how do we actually grow and make profits in cashew. It's a golden million-dollar question. But just before that, a quick intro to Valency, who we really are. The next slide, please. Yeah, so Valency is an integrated value chain company. We have offices across Asia and Africa. We work across many different products, cashew being one of them. We are very deep into raw nuts procurement from the farms in Africa. We've got our own drying yards and infrastructure set up in Africa for this procurement. We also do our own cashew kernel production in our various factories in Vietnam, India, Nigeria, and upcoming in Ivory Coast. So I think I'll be sharing with you more from a perspective of a producer. Yeah, so coming back to the question, how do we get profits in cashew? Now, just before that, we're going to just have a quick look into what's been happening, a really quick one. So cashews, in the last 7 years, the prices have been going down by 50%, from $5 per pound to now 2.5 and even lower. Coincidentally, supply has been increasing by 50%, from 3.5 or 3 million tons to 4.5 and even 5 million tons and above. So this is the falling prices over the last 7 years is really an indication for us that we are in a situation of oversupply. All right. And there's been many periods where raw nuts and cashew kernels have not moved in the same direction, which caused a lot of disparity for producers. And whenever we have been in parity, it has been due to different reasons. There has been volatility due to COVID when the supply chain got disrupted, or it was due to freight. So it's not really sustainable. And then we come back to the same question. Now, how do we earn sustainable margins in this business? So we move forward. So we've got a couple of tips, and some of them which we are personally implementing as well. I think it's really, really important, firstly, to be a very quality-focused industry. We are extremely heavily fragmented. We are a super competitive industry. But what we really need to do here is now, for example, if end buyers start asking for higher quality products, and of course at the right price, which is a big debate by itself, I understand. But this will be a chain effect that moves into the industry. Processes will be forced, there will be some instability, but there will be eventual consolidation. People will have focus on the quality. It's not all about the price anymore. And I think this is where we all need to head. Unfortunately, we can't do it alone. As a processor, if we give in good quality products and we don't get the appropriate pricing for it, it's really not very attractive. It doesn't incentivize us. But we need to hold hands, and we need the collaboration of our buyers as well. Secondly, we must, on the same slide, please. Yeah. We need to stimulate demand for cashews, like Mr. Kalbavi also said. There's a lot of potential. And of course, marketing budget is one, but also value addition is very, very important. As I said, we are so competitive that it's really important for us to set ourselves apart. We need to do innovation, we need to do R&D, we need to completely differentiate. If you look at the imports of roasted and salted from origin into the US, it has actually gone up year on year. So buyers are actually looking for such value addition from origin, and I think this is a nice time for us to step in. There's many ways we can do that. There's sustainability initiatives we can take. So obviously, getting certifications like SMETA certification, which looks after your worker health and safety, organic certification, fair trade, for example. So Valency ourselves, we are into organic, we're into SMETA, we have CSR initiatives which really bring forward an impact into the social initiatives, which can also help investments to a certain extent. And of course, we can do product R&D through pasteurization, roasted, salted, milk, we know it all. And we've also now innovated into sprouted, which is a completely different SKU, and it's a different R&D proposition that we brought to the market. And lastly, we recommend that, well, this is 2-in-1, but go to source and bring processing savings. So when we talk about going to source, there's lots of, we are saying basically go nearer to where the RCN is. There's a lot of advantages for doing that because you will have a lot of cost effectiveness by being closer. You will have a single origin product, and then you'll be able to trace it better. So these are some advantages that you can really get from being closer to source. There are, of course, weaknesses, but we also see the opportunities. So the weaknesses is there's a lot of holding costs of RCN, yes, because you have to hold it for longer periods of time. There are some logistic constraints, but it has improved a lot and dramatically and keeps improving. There are higher costs of production. Now, again, this is also an opportunity because there's lots of ways to train your workers, and in many ways, we've seen that the higher cost of production in Africa, for example, may actually just be equivalent to Vietnam in many cases. So that's the recommendation, and of course, bringing processing savings. So, of course, like Mr. Kalbavi said, we have mechanized a lot, but however, I think even in today's times, we are missing some savings from, we are still not as efficient in, for example, our shelling stages. Peelability is still a problem. We do a lot of work manually. Even, for example, foreign matter, there's a lot of manual intervention into these products. So the opportunity here is really to understand how we can build on AI, technology, and be able to change our processing even more so that we achieve more cost effectiveness from this. Yeah, thank you so much. I will now pass it on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Sweta, for your recommendations on making manufacture more sustainable and bringing that sustainability point, which I think we will discuss later on also. I think it's an important thing which not be discussed much. Next we have Gaurav Patil from Olam Ingredients. You know, he's also been working very closely from Vietnam on the Chinese market also. I'm sure he has a very good presentation for us to see where he'll take us in terms of making cashew more sustainable.
Thank you. So, very good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So, I am going to keep a very short presentation. It's a two-slide one. It's a more direct one. I understand all of you have been part of the nut industry and especially into cashews. So, the background is pretty clear. Let's go to the first slide. I'm going to cover on the challenges. Basically, what are the challenges in the industry today where we are finding it difficult to survive and drive sustainable growth? And at the same time, if we are seeing some challenges, what are the way forward? What are the options which we can see? Because as Mr. Prakash has shared already, that we have been attending so many conferences, and personally last 10 years, if I have attended all the conferences, it goes like a group discussion in an MBA class that you basically discuss and then later on you forget. So better this time we find out a solution, we agree on something, do a commitment part and at least take a step forward. It might not be a solution today, but we start today, 10 years down the line, we might see a successful venture which comes out of today's discussion. So first, as Mr. Prakash has shared already, what are the challenges in terms of promotion? One of them is the marketing spend. But the first one is that we don't have any organized marketing strategy in terms of cashews. Let me give a reference. Today, when you speak about tree nuts, you have almonds, you have walnuts, pistachios, peanuts. And if you see the total marketing spend together as a tree nut industry does, it's more than $2 billion a year. And to correct on the almond spend, which is the Almond Boards of California, which spends on the marketing, from 2011 to 2020, in 10 years, they have spent close to $2.2 billion across the globe on marketing. Now you compare this with cashews, which is zero. So that is the main reason where you don't see cashew as an inclusion or ingredient in most of the product when you go to Western countries. So if we see in a more simpler way, where do you see cashews are eaten? First, India, number one. Second is US. Third is Europe. Fourth is China. So India, just because Indians love cashews and cashew was always initially grown and processed in India, you don't need to promote cashews. We are just going to eat it as well. But if you go to US and Europe, and I request all the cashew fraternity when they go to any airports, just go through all the shelves and see what are the products there. And any of the product when you see, less than 5% of the products will have cashews. The first one will be almonds, second one will be pistachios, third one will be walnuts, fourth will be figs, then berries, last comes cashews. So cashews is the most distant cousin in marketing. If you don't market your product, no one is going to buy. And how are you going to market? By making a council in Africa, a council in India and council in Vietnam, then God help us, definitely nothing is going to happen. So we have to come together. Sweta also shared the same way. We have to hold hands. We have to collaborate. There is a requirement. We have to all come together, make a council, understand what is the strategy, and then start marketing, targeting different regions. That's how we are going to increase the spend, increase the demand. Otherwise, it's just free-floating way. If someone wants to eat cashews, you get the cashews to them. But if you see exactly the way supermarkets work, if you're going to put something on the first shelf, people have the habit of picking that first. When you go to a small, mom and pop store, and when you are going to pay the bill, the cashier takes as much time as possible to give the bill because then you see the mints and you buy the mints. That is the biggest sales part for mints. Otherwise, no one goes to a shop and buy a mint. Cashew is going to be the same. You have to put on the shelf first. That's where people will pick the cashews first. Second, in terms of when we say processors don't have sustainable profit, survival becomes an issue. Reason is there is no collective pricing power. There is no collective pricing negotiation. People don't understand also that should I buy or should I sell? Because my neighbor is selling, I also sell. That's a large part of the industry. If you see pistachio industry, 65% of the 65% of the total pistachio supply is collected by 3 people, or at least 3 organizations. They understand, they decide the price, the industry follows them. In cashews, if you see the total top processors, which out of the 5 million tons of crop, if you see large processors which we process, less than 5% of the process is done by the big processor. Everything else is fragmented. Which means if you have the most fragmented industry, everyone will be in panic to liquidate their position first, and which is why the value leakage happens first in the cashews, which happens much lesser in a macadamia industry. Macadamia, there are only 3 countries. There are only 6 big players. They will work collectively and ensure the pricing always remains firm. So in cashew, the second part is, if we have collective understanding, more information, processors understand, then cutting or undercutting pricing, and then passing out the entire benefit to the intermediary, or let's say the end stream guy, processors will be able to sustain those profits and continue to manage in the volatile situations. That's the second part. Post-COVID, we had issues in terms of demand. We do have issues because of inflation, but cashew consumption still remains bullish, because if you see the total export data of Vietnam, it is better than last year and last to last year also. The number of containers which are going out of Vietnam to various countries are much higher. India is still buying cashews a lot, and India had imported a significant amount of RC last year, not last to last year, and also last year a bit. But India is also consuming all the cashews. There is no lot of inventory sitting in India. So though we have picked up in terms of demand, we have not picked up in terms of pricing. So cashew has become more of an economic product than a premium product. There is no premiumization on cashews today. And that can be clearly driven only and only if you market that product as a premium product and not as a commodity. The last point I would like to add here is, we are significantly lagging on innovation index. So in a simpler term for everyone's benefit, what is the innovation index? How many products you innovate, how many different recipes you make out of cashew or a product, that determines how good you are doing on an innovation index. So today, what do you know? Let's say for me, I've been in 10 years in cashew. What do I know about cashews is salted roasted cashews, spicy cashews, chili cashews, lime chili cashews. If you see about the nut milk industry, cashew milk represents less than 1% of the nut milk industry. So who is the leader in the nut milk? Almond milk. More than 80% of the milk comes from almond milk. I'm only talking nut milk category, not the vegan milk category. So 80% is, let's say, almond milk, then you get walnut milk, pistachio milk, etc. So that innovation or that innovation index, we are very, very far. Why cashew has a natural benefit to be the best nut milk actually? Because it does not have a strong nutty flavor. So you want to drink a coffee or you want to put a barista coffee, best nut milk or vegan milk is cashews. But people don't know. No one has went and pitched to Starbucks that I will give you the best milk, which is a non-dairy product, and ensure your coffee still tastes like the normal dairy product. That's how we are lagging there. In Vietnam I see, in India I see, Australia if I see, everyone, if they don't take almond milk, they go to oat milk. While if you see on a pricing basis and recipe basis, cashew is a very, very strong player there. So we are lagging on innovation. In terms of recipes, if you go to Turkey, you go to Eastern markets, maybe European markets, all the sweets, most of the sweets are made from other nuts, including peanuts, which is maybe almonds, pistachios, macadamias. What also I see is there are other inclusions which are made from oats, but you will not see a single item made from cashews. I recently did some travel and I realized I was not even able to buy one bar which has only cashews there. So on innovation index, that part collectively till the time, even if we don't do together, all the people of cashew industry should work together, try to promote, try to focus and convince customers that why don't you try cashews in this inclusion. These small things are going to drive significant growth. These are the challenges first. So given all the bad story, sad story, let me just share the next slide where I want to show, in my view, what is the way forward for us, where we should focus. Can you please change the slide? So this is what I feel strongly, that we have to start thinking alike, we have to start thinking together, and that's the way forward that we can bring a change. Because crop is not going to go low. We all of understand that there is a supply glut. Everywhere you go, there's cashews. If you see Cambodia today, we have 650,000 tons of crop, and you might have attended yesterday's session. 850,000 tons in Cambodia we will achieve in next 2-3 years. So if the way plantations continue, 1 million ton will come out of Cambodia in maybe 3 to 4 years. Africa continues to grow. Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, all crops are good. So you will have a 6 million to 6.5 million tons of crop in maybe 3 years down the line. Are there enough people or consumers to eat that much cashews? No. Then cashews will not go be at 2.5, it will start being selling at 1.5. So cashews, if you are going to sell at a price of peanuts, better than we have to change the industry. To solve this, we have to generate demand. And how can we generate demand? Let's see China. China, if you see in population, India is the largest populated country, but largest consumer also. So today, let's say 350,000 tons of cashew kernels are consumed in India. And similar volume can be consumed in China. Today, China is only consuming close to 100,000 tons of kernels. And this same country was consuming only 40,000 tons in 2018. So if we promote cashews in China and that particular country starts consuming more, you bring it to 300,000 tons, your entire supply glut issue goes away, and you start getting that demand-supply balance. You start getting better prices. Processor starts getting better prices, they start giving better prices to farmers. If you don't do that, processor will say, I want cheaper nut. When I need a cheaper nut, I want that I will buy cheaper RCN. When I want to get cheaper RCN, which means farmer is getting lower price. And if farmer is getting lower price, farmer is not motivated to grow cashews. So we can go either ways. Let everyone make good money and be happy, or the other way, that everyone remains sad and we cut down the trees. Let's go on the other side, form a better council, a global council, where people from different parts of the world, which is also from Africa, India, Vietnam, China, Europe, US, all part, Middle East, everyone comes. They come as a representation, come up with ideas, take responsibility, and drive consumption to each of these markets. Unless you drive and make the people aware, no one is going to focus on increasing the consumption of cashews. That's the first point, and second which I have done. Second, in promotion of ingredient as inclusion in different categories. I have covered that point earlier already, that today after COVID, and we have seen in last 3 to 4 years, health consciousness is increasing well. People want to consume as a part of regular diet nuts. If I see on the regular part, it happens mostly in Australia or let's say in European countries, but it does not happen in Asia as a regular diet. Nuts are consumed as a part of premium products. Maybe you are doing it for gifting, you are eating on as a part of, let's say, snacks, but you're not eating daily diet basis. If you spread more awareness in terms of health benefits in Asia, Asia is the most booming market which is going to grow at the fastest rate in next 7 or 8 years. And here the spending power is increasing. That is where we have to focus, increase health focus in Asia market. That will drive the consumption number 2. Next is, I think we have to develop a longer vision, a 10-year vision. So once you have a council, develop a 10-year marketing vision, develop a marketing strategy. We take a step 1, step 2, step 3. Maybe 5 years down the line, we see the benefits coming through. We have to start today. If not, then as I shared, that we will do a very good group discussion and clap, and after that go back and have a party, but nothing is going to happen. So let's start. I hope that WCC, Mr. Ganpati and Mr. Prakash, they can guide us here, but try to start on that process. It is going to help the entire industry in coming years. Last, I would say China, which is the growing economy in terms of consumption, especially for cashews. I have seen and the love for cashews which is growing in that particular country. Most of us should focus there, try to give better quality products, try to visit more, develop sales there, and increase consumption in China. Automatically we might see a better realization across the globe for cashews. So that's it from my side. Thank you for being patient and listening.
Thank you, Gaurav. Lots of points for us to discuss. Interesting point that you mentioned is, as processors, we don't have a collective pricing power. More on that, I think we will discuss in the course. Now, I think I will move over to the person who is joining us virtually, Mr. Vasudev Barkur from ETG. Welcome here. So I know you've been waiting for long, but You are, ETG is today present in so many countries. You are in raw cashew trading, you are in manufacture, so you are the person with immense knowledge. So we would like to hear your view in terms of how to make this trade more sustainable and bring profits to us.
Am I audible, Mr. Kalbavi? Yes. Okay, I think there's a lag. First of all, good evening to everyone. Sorry for not able to attend physically, and yeah, just to thank each and everyone for the wonderful presentation, especially Sweta and Gaurav, who have already done their part. And okay, so as far as we are concerned as ETG, we are into cashew trade and we are also into processing. We have seen all those good and bad days, and currently we are all going through not so pleasant days for the industry. So I think one of the important point probably here to note is that how is that we have landed up here and what can be done from here to going forward so that the cashew nut production can continue to grow the way it has been growing. On the other side, the demand also can continue to grow. So one of the points which I picked from Mr. Kalbavi is that you mentioned that cashew kernel consumption is going at a rate of 4 to 6%. The way we see the cashew production, raw cashew production is growing in the rate of probably 7 to 9% annually. So there is a gap, which probably is, pushing us to the current state where the prices are not, probably pushing up for the kernel, because as Gaurav said, we are not doing anything that can trigger higher demand and higher realization. And also on the other side, everyone wants to participate in cashew trade space, which also takes the prices up and everybody collectively suffer at the end of the day. Coming back to the question what Mr. Kalbavi asked, that how did Africa manage to build its production to this extent. So I think one ideal space cashew found in Africa is that it got into the right fitment of a cash crop. So Africa, as we all know, barring few countries, most of the countries are operated around smallholders. Smallholders, mostly their farming practices also not so organized, which means that unorganized sector, you will possibly will not have a well-placed land pieces, so it is mostly bush. So the cashew fits in very well, and cashew doesn't need lots of maintenance, and it's easy to grow. So I believe Africa has embraced that, and Africa, including African government, almost especially led by probably Tanzania, in providing seeds and training for the right practices of growing, and to West Africa, where especially Ivory Coast has invested a lot in terms of supporting farmers and able to control the value chain by teaching the right practices and also giving fertilizers at the right time. I think this really triggered a huge production, and this also on the fact that there's a lot of land parcels still available, and which will continue to support the cashew growth. I was talking to my colleagues in the places like Dalwa in Ivory Coast, where the cashew production of 10-20,000, today we are talking about 100,000 tons being produced. So it is exponentially growing, and it will continue to grow. And probably with the cocoa having a bit of tough time, especially in some of the countries. Of course, currently cocoa is going through a sort of all-time high prices, but farmers may not be getting too much as a benefit because it's all forward sold. So cashew is a preferred commodity, and this production surge will continue to grow. Basically, it offers everything an ordinary peasant looks for: a basic minimum realization, and easy to manage the low maintenance cost, not so much of other requirement. Even if you don't apply fertilizer, you still use production.
Thank you, Mr. Barkur. Seeing how the seed cashew has grown in Africa and the viability there. Next, we will go to Abel Santos. I think he's a brand and he knows what's happening in the consumer markets. So he will be giving us some insights as to how this cashew can be grown and consumption can be grown from the consumer's perspective.
Hello everyone. I'm the smaller, so I need to put the micro a little bit lower. And to be honest, I didn't want to do any presentation. And after 2 days talking and listening to all of us, I detected that the mood is a little bit low. Well, not only the last 2 days, but for 2 years, as Mr. Kalbavi says, we are all grooming and complaining and making our lives miserable because nothing works. Yeah? Then I told to Mr. Kalbavi, we should not do any presentation. We should get a motivational speaker. Yeah? But they told me there is no budget. It sounds to you like in life. Then I tell, okay, I will manage it. Then I called to Mrs. Sweta. I told to her, we need budget, motivational speaker, no budget. We have spent everything in the biggest chargers, yeah, to move us from one building to the other. So no budget. Then I thought I will do my presentation trying to motivate you, yeah, because the things are not so bad. Yeah? So I'm not a motivational speaker, but I will do my best today to secure that after this talk, we go all out a little bit more to celebrate what you have achieved. Yeah? Good? So this is the reason why I'm coming here with our vision, the vision of our company. Yeah? When I say the vision of our company is Intersnack is your company, and we have a clear vision, we really believe that we can provide a bright future for everyone, and everyone means everyone involved in the supply chain of cashews, right? And we are going to prove that it is possible. Yeah. So if we move to the next one. So we were confronted with few questions to prepare the panel. And then I thought, I will answer these questions one by one. But then I thought, yeah, you are going to get bored because is this the question that go all the time up and down? So we are really talking all the time about we need to increase the consumption. Yes, we know, because it's not about cutting trees. So we all the time we talk about there is more RCN coming than demand. Yes, we know. But what we are doing, we need to increase consumption. We don't need to cut trees. Yeah? We all know that the cashew sector is not united. Yeah? So you can use that to answer many of our challenges. We all know that, yes, we live in a complex world, and we are not going to escape from that. You like it or not, things are changing, and you need to manage it. And yes, our supply chain may be opportunistic, volatile, and plenty of not well-managed efficiencies, right? But when I look to it, you can always get the answer that you want just by asking to the right person. So if you are looking for lower prices, you know to whom to ask. If you are looking for higher prices, you know to whom to ask. So at the end, we are in a supply chain where nothing is clear, and we manage our sentiments. But for whatever reason, always in the way that we want to keep grooming and to keep thinking nothing works, this is a nightmare. Yeah? Then I thought, how we can help here? So if we go to the next slide, I'm not an expert in cashews, but I can search in internet. Yeah? So when I go to internet, I can find that the results of what you obtain is performance minus the interferences. Oh, what is the result? Results is your own performance minus any interferences that you find around. Yes, basically this is, results is what you can control and minus what you cannot control. Really simple, it's not so difficult. Then, if we look more into performance, performance is really something inside us. It's about capacity and commitment. So if performance is about capacity and commitment, you have it in control. Performance is about yourself. It's about getting out of you, your organizations, the best that you have inside. It's not about complaining. It's about working and developing your capabilities to be the best of yourselves. So then we had the perfect formula. Capacity plus commitment. You remove interferences. You want the results to be positive. You need to work in your capacity and in your commitment. Yeah? And not to say the interferences are unresolved challenges. And those can be internal and external. Externals are common to everyone. Internals are the ones unique and specific to the cashew sector. And if you look to the problem like that, you have the solution in your hands, but you don't want to take it. You keep complaining because you want to complain. So let's go to the next slide to see if we can get some clarity here. If we go to the clarity, there are many interferences in the cashew sector, yes. And I will not read all one by one, you know it. All the interferences you can put there. Geopolitical factors, the parity of the RCN, how bad is the supply chain, disconnection, Ivory Coast coming with the RCN, Cambodia coming with the RCN, the others coming with new machines. Yes, a lot of interferences. You all see any movement that occurs like an interference. So this is what you put in front of your performance. You say, I cannot perform because these things. And then we tell to you, are you sure? What are you doing to control those things? Yeah. I didn't want to write it all, so I need to give the credit here to people I have been talking yesterday night to prepare the presentation. So thanks, Harry, yeah. Thanks, Salim, and as well Jim is around. And then we know it's difficult, yeah. But the problem here is that we make a problem of processors versus roasters versus farmers versus. It's not versus. The solution to the problem is farmers plus traders plus processors plus roasters. It's not versus. And then we come back to the point of this morning. It's all about cooperation. But we don't look to that. We always talk about versus. Yeah? So let's go to what we do right. If the interferences are there, what is our performance? Let's be honest. What you have done well in the last years. You have done many things, right? If we go one slide back. Should I read all this? You know it. You are in front of an industry that has created thousands of employment, has created benefits for farmers, for people in the factories, for countries. There are countries that are developing now farther and faster because you are in this industry, right? So why you don't look to it as your achievement? You are innovators. You have been doing for many, many years things that the industry was not capable to believe. Yeah? You have moved a sector to 10 billions and maybe it's 15 billions in the future. You have grown cashews like no tomorrow, and now we have almost 5,000 metric tons of cashews in front of us. So it's not a threat, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to take a market that needs your products because your products can be more healthy, can be better. Yeah, if you want, I can read all of them. But I think that you can identify there that your capacity and commitment is there. And not to say that when you look around, are you committed? You have capacities? Yes, you have. Look the panel. We have plenty of people with a lot of capabilities, but still we don't take the advantage. We just take the grooming and the complaining. Yeah. So let's finalize, because I cannot spend too much time, sorry, because we're a little bit late. Yeah. So let's say what we're going to do here. If we move one slide more. Yeah. Yes, it's true. You want to move from survival to belonging and becoming? No, you want to move survival to growth and profit, because you are defining it wrongly. Every human being has three attributes that is looking all their lives. Surviving. And surviving is not a threat. Surviving is a mood where you need to be. Because if you are not in stress, if you don't have a challenger, you become fat. If the lion has not a stress, you become a pig. So survival mood is good, but you need to believe you need challenges, but you need to have the courage to go for it. Yeah? Belonging. Every human wants to belong to somewhere, and you belong to the cashew sector, a sector that is growing, a sector that creates opportunities, and you keep grooming. Yeah? And becoming. And becoming is in you. Are you going to be the best that you can achieve out of you? Yeah? And that is the answer. I don't want to read, because reading is something that you can do later on. Yeah? But I follow a lot of speakers, and there's one, Les Brown, that says, courage is your ability to go from failure to failure without losing the enthusiasm. And that is maybe the difference that you have when you are younger and when you are older. So older is not any longer an age, it's a mindset. And if you keep trying, if you keep doing the best of yourself, if you keep embracing the challenges, then you are doing the right thing. But then you will touch your performance because you will build your capabilities, yeah, and your delivery. So, how we are doing in Intersnack, if we can move one slide more, yeah. We need to build a vision. In Intersnack we have done, and I am asking you to do the same, because, believe myself, you need to keep yourself hungry. You should not be into comfort, and you are not hungry. You are grooming because you are not hungry. You need to be desperate to be successful. Maybe your parents or your grandparents were, but many of us, we are not any longer hungry. Yeah? Many people coming from countries that we now see as a threat, they are really hungry. Hungry for results, hungry for performance. Now, if you embrace the challenge, and you believe that you and your organizations can overcome those difficulties, then you can build your vision. And maybe it takes a lot of effort, and you can thrive through paths, and then make a trail for many, and for you as well, yeah? Because, believe it or not, you belong to those organizations, to those families who have placed us here. And because you believe to them, you have the capabilities and the knowledge and the drive to make it happening, yeah? So what we need is people that can inspire us, yeah? And helping us to bring alive your vision, or helping yourself to bring alive your vision, may contribute to the total vision of the sector. So our vision in Intersnack is quite clear. We move to the next slide, and I keep repeating myself, we truly believe that the cashew sector is a positive sector to stay, is a sector that can provide a bright future for everyone involved in the sector. Okay. Thank you very much.
Abel, thank you so much. You know, I was not knowing what is honest cashew, but honestly, he was like a spiritual guru today for us. Will you agree with me? Saying what these interferences are, but in spite of that, we are resilient with a kind of experience and good words. I think there is a lot we want to listen from you. Moving to the last panelist, Rengarajan, who is not just an expert in cashew. He's been the ship, as I was traveling with him from Bangkok to here, he was telling me how he served as a captain of a ship, and he even knows this logistics business so well. So he's going to bring in a lot of other insights to us. Yes, Rengarajan, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Distinguished audience, more than that, I am standing in front of something scary. You all can't see, this panel can see. I have a timer in front of me, red in color, only 8 seconds left. Now I feel like the player who is playing after the time, extra time. With the permission of the chair, I will continue in the extra time so that we can score the goal which we are looking at, hopefully. Very nice to be in front of an august audience, a great set of panel. Thanks Eventel team who organized this fantastic conference, 10th year, and in a very unique venue. And I'm sure all of you are enjoying the outings out here. Angkor Wat and other things, and of course the pub street also. Okay, just you can see it looks like a maze. Cashew has become a maze. That's what we are here to discuss, brainstorm, and see how we can get better. Quickly, I'll just run through our business activities. I'll just keep it short. You saw the presentation. We're doing RCN from Nigeria, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. These are 3 countries which we are doing. Of course, we do the other products. Next slide, please. Okay, being the last speaker, I feel, my points in the presentation, some people might feel typical answer sheet of a student who has copied from others. Okay, but I look at it in the positive spirit. If I observe from yesterday and the whole day of today, several points have been spoken by eminent speakers. Mine will have a lot of that, and I'm happy that I'm aligning with the eminent speakers. And in a way, it's like when you repeat something in slightly different words, it's driven well and drives the whole forum to score the goal in this extra time. That's what I think. We all know these points like what are the upticks for the cashew? It's a livelihood for over 3 million families globally. I like using the word family. I heard our friend from Cambodia, he was also telling about families. We have to think about families. So over 1.5 million jobs. We are an 8 billion industry with a growth of 4.6%. With this kind of an industry, we should definitely prosper. We should not be thinking of what has happened in the last couple of years. That's not our future. That's not the permanent. That's not the future. Future is something which is going to be special. So let's look at these things. CO2 absorption capacity of cashew trees is approximately 75,000 tons per hectare per year. It's one of the highest. Same way, the lowest greenhouse emission per 100 grams of any nut. One of the healthiest nuts when you consider about heart health. You can see the global trends for vegan proteins. So there also we stand well. Cashew is a good replacement for lactose-free milk. So we have so many upticks. So like what Abel said, we have a lot to celebrate and then use it. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. I think all these points have been covered by the speakers since yesterday. Last 3 to 4 years have been stressful. Various kinds of challenges we have faced. Contract defaults, COVID disruptions, processors margins are very low, shipment issues, freight, connection of boxes. We have enough people from shipping also here. We have some of the line representatives, some of the forwarding companies. Maybe we can chat with them also to get better on this front. And one point, are retailers taking all the margins? Now, many of us say this. Next thing is geopolitical issues like Red Sea. We spoke a lot on this. In fact, Eventel conducted a session where I presented my points. Farmers not getting enough income. We've heard enough of these. These are the challenges. Next slide, please. Okay. I've just put some points as considerations for the forum. Many of these points have been covered in the whole day and this eminent panel. Like as already mentioned by many, I would like to reiterate about promoting cashew based on its health benefits and promote as a forum. Individual companies can do, but we saw the numbers, we saw the graphs, the amount of money spent on promotion, hardly any when it is compared with the other nets. So we must have a joint forum to promote. Probably you can get more, some big movie stars, a sports person, somebody. So as a group, if we align, we can make better promotions. Invite big retail chains to forums like this WCC. Let them hear out what we are speaking. We are speaking about farmers. We are speaking about the contract defaults. We are speaking about the production chain. So they are an important part of the value chain. So the major retailers who are consumers, just the previous step to the end consumers, they must be invited here so that we do the brainstorming. Probably next time I would like to see one of the panels should be from the major retailers of this supermarket chains and other distributors up in the US and Europe, so that they are aware of what's happening here. They can be roped into do the promotion activities, and also in the farmer benefit programs we can use them in all these places. Default of contracts, a lot of things have been spoken about it. We even heard the CEO of Longsun, he mentioned one incident where somebody was illegally holding passport. It has gone to that extent. That's something which we as a group have to collaborate and find solutions by dialogues with all the parties concerned. Without, of course, belittling anyone or blaming, we have to find ways so that we morally we are a better industry. Can we go to the next slide, please? On the production front, improve the cost realization of shells by recycling and reuse in various forms. And then next thing is increase the research and development with government intervention. We saw in the morning sessions where forums like USAID, GIZ, these are already doing some work. maybe we can involve some premier education institutes, like maybe for India, something like an IIT, which produces the best of talent, brains. Maybe some more research can be done. Of course, there is enough talent available in the industry with several decades of processing experience, but it's just a way to get some external advising, maybe some new ideas. So that's something which we must consider. And next point is improving the products lines. Like we heard yesterday during the farm visit, our friend was telling about the cashew apples. They're just dumped, maybe given to cows. Maybe we should think of yielding something better there so that farmers can increase their yield. Now, when we say farmers are not earning enough, now we can't tell the other stakeholders that you pass on the profit, okay, reduce the price. It's not going to happen that way. As pointed out here already, there will be competition. It is going to be there. We have to derive better value in available resources. So one way is looking at cashew apple. What can be done more with cashew apples? Maybe something like a wine and other products where we can use cashew apple and create more value within the available resources. If you look at Africa processing, it's still short of able human resources. There have to be training needs identified. There are companies working on it. There's more work done to be on that front so that the efficiencies are improved, so that the processing industry also derives better value. If you look at the Africa farming practices, many of you will recollect from presentation of Cambodia and the farm visit yesterday. They talk of 1.4 metric tons per hectare. If you look at many other countries, it's far lower. This has to be corrected. The yields have to improve. So whatever suits that particular land, that particular ecological systems, that R&D has to be done so that the farmer's yield gets better. Brokens have to be sold worldwide. That's something which will again sort of work on the yield of the processors. These are some points which I thought would be consideration of this forum. As I told, while I go through this, I feel all the points have been mentioned, but I take pride in saying that I would like to revert it again so that we reiterate and take some solid measures like already proposed here. We can maybe form a joint alliance for a promotion. Maybe Prakash ji can lead this with our friend Srivats, and maybe we can achieve something better. With this, I would like to conclude with a thanks to the organizers, and I wish you all a very nice conference and enjoy the beautiful country here. And I'm here available for any discussions. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Rengarajan. Several takeaways from your presentation. Very, very good suggestions all along. I think in the extra time, you must have scored 3 goals, not 1. You really did well. So I am really out of time here. I've been told that it's out of time, but I nevertheless want to have a quick Q&A. So I would start with the man who's waiting there for long, Vasudev Barkur. We are talking about sustainable growth. Now we are seeing the new hub being developed, Africa being developed as a new processing hub. So are we seeing, at least more sustainable opportunities for this new processing zone that is coming up now, Barkur? With the kind of hand-holding and the support that they are getting from the government and everything that's going on there, at least are we seeing a sustainable growth for Africa as a manufacturer?
Okay, let me just repeat. It is, I was just mentioning that it's a difficult question to answer for the fact that we being in Africa for 50 years, BTG, and having tried processing for now 19 years, to be very specific, it has been a lot of experience. But yes, there are exceptions. I believe Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire is one exceptional where processing appears to have picked up. Currently, I hear the number is around 250,000 tons with the 3 major participants and more smaller participants as well. So there is good news happening in Ivory Coast for the specific reason that there is a handholding by way of providing some incentive. But can it do without that? I don't think so. I have to just mention that in some of the countries where we are also processing, I've seen that processing steadily going down as against going up. So if you look at the history of last 15 years, Africa has been only processing 7 to 8 or 9% of its production. So that ratio, even today also, it is around 10% of what it produces. So this ratio is continuing. I believe a lot to be done, in many places. And I've been also advocating one of the things that there should be intra-Africa raw cashew trade. So which possibly be one solution where East Africa can take it to West Africa, West Africa take it to East Africa, vice versa. Maybe there should be some mechanism because raw cashew attracts export duty. There should be some other mechanism beyond what individual countries are doing. So with this kind of additional help, it can only go to a certain extent, not beyond that. That would be my precise opinion.
All right, thank you. Gaurav, one of the major factors for India to grow has been the ingredient market. I think the sustainability came because of the value proposition in terms of we realizing much higher for our broken grades and all that. And you mentioned about China, growing as a major consumer. So how do you see ingredient as a sector that will grow for us? I mean, if you look at sustainable growth for the industry, I think that's the idea that you have to keep the farmer happy at the same time. Consumers, you can't see a big price increase. So at least if you are able to get more value for the brokens or all these grades, I think we probably will be more sustainable. So how do you see ingredient market growing in China? Do you see that we can replicate India's story in some of these other markets?
Yeah, so I feel not only China. So one thing is very clear, and I agree with you that part, that India, basically cashew industry or cashew processors in India have a better pricing parity, mainly because of the ingredients market being very strong in India. And all the grades, and especially grades like splits and LWP, fetch significant premium in India market as compared to the entire global market. That similar thing has started coming up a bit in Asia. So China, not yet completely, but if I see markets like Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, these are the markets, Indonesia. So all of these markets are reasonable population markets where countries are more than 100 million population. And those markets are consuming cashews as ingredients at a fair share as compared to China. China still is a dominant snacking market. But gradually what I have started seeing is with the e-commerce boom coming in China, slowly, more consumers have started preferring cashews as an ingredient now in their inclusions as compared to 3 or 4 years before. So with the right strategy, maybe right marketing part, which happens with maybe private players or maybe the players in Chinese industry, I see in next 5 to 7 years, cashew consumption in China definitely will grow. And once it passes a particular critical point, let's say today it's 100,000 tons, as maybe 120, 130,000 tons goes, when you see the snacking demand continues to grow and then plateaus, post that we will see an ingredient demand going up in China. So in my general view, if India market today takes 300,000 tons or 350,000 tons of kernels, China should reach 250,000 tons kernels by 2028.
So that's good. Sweta, this is a question for you. When we talk about industry now being in a difficult position from the manufacturer's perspective, would you say that it's one of the reasons could be because Africa has grown too fast in terms of its production? Or, you think the industry really went wrong in terms of going so much in terms of its processing and creating the disparity scenario for itself? How do you see this correction coming up? What do you advocate for, improving this world consumption? I mean, consumption, we saw in the chart that we are up 66%, but we've not really been able to create value for the produce. So many marketing, strategies have been discussed in all the presentations. But where do you see how we should go about in terms of creating more value for our produce?
Right, no, thanks for the question. As we've all talked throughout this conference, I think there's a very clear understanding that we are in an oversupply situation. It's gone too fast. Now demand is not able to catch up, and somehow we end up in this situation that we are today. If you look at almonds, for example, they have episodes where they have short crop, and this really does help to stabilize their pricing to a large extent. So yes, I believe this is an issue. But if you look at the demand side of things, it's not also so easy for them to just say, okay, let's increase the demand. They are fighting, you know, because of the war, there has been a lot of issues with inflations, recession. It's not only about the fact that, you know, we have an oversupply. So demand is not that easy where you're saying all the margins are stuck. It's not that. They are also battling with their own issues of costing over there. But I think at the end of the day, we have to be, like Abel said, we have to be resilient. And we need to come up with creative ways to weather this storm. So I would say to processors, we really need to, and also for our company, we are trying to focus on byproducts a lot now. And I think, you know, we need to start thinking of creative ways to do things differently. So biochar, you know, getting fuel out through cashews. Maybe this could be the new revenue generating model. So.
Sure. Abel, I think Rengarajan also mentioned, end of the day, we are struggling. Manufacturers, producers are still holding on somehow we're going to get. But the retailers are having an excellent margin. The retail margins they're seeing across the board is quite good in terms of and if you look at India versus Europe or USA, India is working on a retail margin of 15 to 18% on nuts, I'm just saying. While it is quite high, substantially high when you look at Europe or US. So is there room to see whether these retail margins, you know, can be worked out so, you know, we can further improve the product in terms of consumption in Europe or US? We are not seeing a great jump in terms of consumption for US particularly. What's your take on improving Europe consumption?
Thanks for the challenge, Kalbavi. But I think tomorrow we are going to talk about kernels, and specifically Beam from our company will do a presentation to understand better the market. But don't neglect that whenever we look to the supply chain, upstream or downstream, we always believe that the others are doing a little bit better. It's true, the retailers are doing most probably quite decent because these last 2 or 3 years they could manage better the price increase in front of the consumers. But they have as well a part of risk. And not all the retailers are doing well because remember, you may look to a part of the ones that put the products in front of the consumers, but not all is the typical retail that we see. There is a lot of fragmentation and scattering in all kind of channels to arrive to the processor. And if you look, for example, online, other platforms, they may be losing money. So at the end, it's a difficult environment for everyone. And what we shouldn't go is in the temptation to say, yeah, they are doing better, they need to sell. We need to go into the temptation, remember, what you can control is what you need to optimize. And if we don't play that game, it's not helping to anyone because we may not understand totally where they had the difficulties, and they have. They are firing people because they have a big fixed cost. Yeah? This is happening in Europe. So big organizations, they are struggling as well. They need to manage the cost structure. You may not see from here, but it's happening. Yeah? And then my recommendation is always the same. You know what you can do better, focus on that one, create your efficiencies, then you are in control zone. If you think about the other parts of the supply chain, yeah, English people say, yeah, every garden is greener than mine. Yeah? But this, yeah.
Very true. Well, Rengarajan, one small question to you is, you mentioned about the problems that we are seeing in the Red Sea. Do you see, I know imports from Africa should not be an issue in terms of this crisis for us now, but still, are we going to see another container disruption issues, or what do you see the impact of this Red Sea on the current season for us?
See, if you look at direct impact for RCN is from West Africa and East Africa. Most of the services, they are already taking the route, even before the Red Sea disruption, they were taking the route around the Cape. So directly there is no impact for RCN as of now. But if you look at kernels, kernels have to move to Europe from Vietnam and India. So that route is already having lot of issues. You know, we already saw freight rates increase to about $1,500 per container. Now, in addition to the cost increase, the movement of containers, the dynamics of the container movement have already taken a hit. So we are likely to face a situation where there are places with surplus inventory of boxes, or some places could face a shortage. Yesterday somebody was mentioning there is a shortage of boxes already in India. One gentleman mentioned about shortage of boxes in Benin. So there are some issues visible. Generally, when these kind of things happen, there will be some cost implication also, because the shipping line will, at the end of the day, they will have to provide boxes. Either they provide boxes, they have to spend money, or else they give limited boxes and then the freight will go up. So whichever way you look at it, you can't say that shipping line is happy about this, but there is no way to tackle this except increasing the cost. That's a very unfortunate situation. In fact, we have a full contingent of CMA, CGM team here. We have the MSC representative here. We have some of the shipping companies. We can have a dialogue with them. But the only solution is like, maybe we can look at somebody like a US taking a more better step to resolve the issue, rather than trying to tell that I'll fight it and send aircrafts and this. We have seen it has not worked. Let's put it this way, it has not worked. In the last 45 days, whatever steps taken, it has not simply worked. So if you have gone wrong in all steps they're done till today, that means you have to do something different. The only way I see to do different is to go for dialogues. When is the US elections due? Probably that can be a key game changer for this, I believe.
Well, I think geopolitics is a subject we wonder how competent we will be. I don't know where we will end up this. But I think you're right in saying shipping lines are there. We know the crop is growing. We know the ports haven't, infrastructure-wise, African ports really need to do much better now. But we're seeing even 3 months post the season, we're not able to pull out the stocks to the destination. So here we need definitely, some coordination and some kind of effort in terms of our logistics to be taken care. So I think across the board, all the presentations mentioned very clearly the need for us to really promote cashews and build, more value into our products. That is, if you look at almonds, the almond board is doing wonderful. In terms of, yes, even the pistachios board, the walnut, everywhere across the board, we are seeing the boards doing a wonderful job for promoting their produce. So I think here is a suggestion from most of the presenters here that we too must look at a cashew global body, a cashew board globally, which probably will, take up this promotion and oversee the overall growth of sustainable growth for this industry. Gaurav, question to you is, if we are looking at a global body, how we should go about it in terms of initiating this board for cashew? Do you agree that we'll need something like this? You yourself have made this suggestion. And in terms of funding for the same, do you think, how do you go about it in terms of getting those initial funding at least? My point is, I always seen that the produce, even in my presentation I mentioned, at the end of the day, all the promotions will benefit the producers. And I mentioned that Africa is today 60-65% of the global production. So we will need to, from the audience, I know there are many people from the Ivory Coast and Tanzania here also. We need to see their perspective here to say how much they will be able to come forward. And out of the duties that they collect, is there a contribution that can go towards the global promotion for this commodity? So first I would like to Gaurav to give his thoughts on seeing how we can give shape to this global body, and then we probably can seek the audience questions and suggestions.
So in this particular part, I feel that the first step would be that we understand what are the major areas or where the participants globally we want them to represent. So as I divided cashew as a sector into, let's say, Africa, Middle East, Asia, and then rest of the world we can say. So Asia includes India, China, and Southeast Asia completely. We can say representatives from each of these countries or each regions in terms of cashew bodies which are already there. We take key people, let's say from ACA, we have an Africa Cashew Alliance, people from ACA can represent, or we can say, let's say Ivory Coast and Ghana, Nigeria, Mali together, can be, let's say 2-3 countries come together and say a representative. We take which gives a representation from the sourcing part. Then processors, which is India and Vietnam mainly. So India has many cashew bodies, there are state bodies and multiple government connected bodies also. Maybe we have to take the most influential ones, or recently we have seen a cashew body forming in India. From there we have to take key representatives. Vietnam, there is Vinacas, but I would suggest not, Vinacas is one, but apart from that, someone who is from the ministry in Vietnam, someone from that should be a representative, because you need to be influential and you should have that influence and power to take decisions and drive things. So suggestions always can be made, but if you have an influence, you can implement things and move things in a different manner. So I think that's what I would suggest. And then let's say from Middle East market, from Europe market, we should invite people from, as you said, from retail industry or from consuming industry also to be a part of that, to show the perspective and drive promotions and strategies into those regions. Similarly in US, let's say regulatory bodies, today we have AFI as a global standard. Maybe someone from their team can represent to understand and fine tune those specs and quality standards globally. So all of this into different parts of cashew industry should come and represent. And then we should formulate a strategy how to go ahead with that. Coming to second point on promotions and funding for that, I find that's the easier challenge to address, because as you formed and the number of players globally are part of that, all of us are private players who are into manufacturing industry. I think the initial seed funding with all the key players can be contributed to just start with the discussion, and then we can bring in sponsors in a much easier way. All the global brands who are part of different nuts and fruits industry will be more than happy to actively contribute in terms of being sponsor of developing the marketing spend, because that's the next path where they would like to grow. Today in terms of kernel consumption, if you see almonds and cashews, these are the two largest nuts which are globally consumed. I mean, so peanut also I say, but peanut I just take not into tree nut category, that's why. But if I remove or I only focus on tree nuts, today cashew kernels are very similar in terms of overall consumption production as almonds. So I don't see that going to be a challenge in terms of funding.
Right, thanks. I think we are almost 30 minutes stressed this session. Just a couple of questions from the audience if there is anything. I see Hari Krishnan Nair. So Hari, do you see INC role in formulating a global body? For INC itself is a global body which can take care of this. But still, I'm saying for specific for cashew.
Through the INC, the cashew industry had tried to form a global body. It started off as a global cashew task force in 2009, and it later became the Global Cashew Council, and it was an organization which included the country organizations of the major processors at that time, which was the CPCI in India, Vinacas, and Sindicaju in Brazil, and also the ACA was also taken in as a member, even though it is not one country. I mean, Africa is not a country, but ACA was also a participant. At that time, I happened to be involved at that time in the founding of the Global Cashew Task Force, and we had listed out the items, the things which we could agree on, and what we did was we tried to limit the activities to things that everybody could agree on. For example, if say Africa wanted to promote shipments from the processing in origin, that is not something which Vietnam or India or other countries might agree to. But so we actually went down to a few things. One was a health study. I think that was the first thing that the INC, through the Global Cashew Council did. So what we did was, the first big thing that was done was, identifying the nutritive value of cashews. That is, the INC took cashew samples from all the major origins and got it independently assessed at a, to a very, the different types of fats, in great detail, and all the other, nutrients. And one thing which was possible, which we were able to get, is that there is no significant difference. That means that if, say, for example, Cambodian cashew is, you do a test and it is considered to be healthy for something, it means that cashews all over the world is healthy. So, it is very difficult to say that one is superior to another, etc., because the differences were very, very minor and, statistically not significant. So that is one thing which happened, and I think that still stands. The second thing is that, okay, then, the nutritive values were actually put together, and, we tried to see, put it into a specific, cohorts, and to see, what is good for something and what is bad for something. So, I think there were actually 5 specific things which were identified, and the top 2 were heart health and diabetes, and recovery after sports. There were 5 things which were identified, and the INC took up a research on heart health, and at that time the Cashews Promotion Council took up a research on diabetes. So basically, it also looked at heart health for diabetic patients, and at that time it was the biggest study with 300 people, and it was the first study of more than 100 people, a clinical trial. The idea was that we should be able to, use this for, give things to the industry so that people from the industry would be able to publicize it. Yeah. But unfortunately, what happened was that during that time, firstly, Sindicaju dropped out, and then after that, both Vietnam and India dropped out. And, I think the problem was that, this was being led by industry, I was the last president, of the chairman of the GCC, and I had to finally ask them to close it, because what was happening was that people from the industry, basically Intersnack at one time, and planters, and Olam, people from these companies were heading it, but the bulk of the money was coming from Vinakas and CEPCI. And, I think the leaders in these organizations wanted to take charge. So I think that was the problem. Yeah. And, the INC finally used whatever money was left in consumer promotion. And I don't think the INC is an organization which can actually go into consumer promotion, because it's not a commercial organization selling to consumers. So that's the story with, what happened with that. And there are some positives which can be taken forward. But I guess, I think, as Abel mentioned some time back, it is a question of replacing X versus Y with X plus Y. I think that's the way we should be going forward. Thank you.
Yeah. So, individually, if I look at country bodies, I think all of them are doing absolutely wonderful. Cashew, be it in India, we recently had a launch of All India Cashew Associations, which is ICA. So, if you have all these associations, really, I think what the issue now is really leadership of coming together into a single global platform, and then, creating this body. And I think money, will definitely flow in when we are doing good work. I don't see that as a barrier. Material to market and everything is all there. It's a lot of work. I think it's all about coming together now for a purpose, and I'm sure it will happen. The need is there and the environment is there. So I'm sure we'll look at ultimately a global body being formed for cashew, which will take up the promotion and bring in the sustainable growth and the profits. So, winding up this session now,
Sir,
and if there is any one question that I can, yes.
Sam Dhruv, just a small suggestion. When they see that the consumer is searching for a product, automatically they start making products around that. And then I think the demand will just skyrocket. Of course, it will take time, but I think that can be used
Certainly, I think it's a good idea. In fact, see, the advantage in cashew is the spread. The number of players in cashew is much bigger than if you look at the number of players in other commodities. And individually, each of us have these digital marketing and digital. So collectively, if you look at it, we are already created that kind of an impact. It's just that it has to be much more exponentially grown, and that's where you need coordination amongst the nations. Yeah. No, that's precisely what we are mooting. That's precisely. But individually, I know for sure there are a lot of manufacturers who are already doing it. But collectively doing it will create that ripple effect and bring in that benefit to the industry in terms of to all segments of this cashew value chain. So thank you. I think it's been a great panel.
Sir,
we
there
have got
is
a lot of insights.
one
Yes.
final quick observation.
Yes.
The gentleman's been waiting.
Thank you. I have a question to panelists and all my friends here. How many of us truly believe in our product? See, all of us truly believe in our product ourselves. See, most of us still prefer to eat almonds in the morning as compared to eating cashew in the morning. You know, why don't we start charity at home? You know, eat more cashew, gift more cashew. If the 2-3 million people involved in cashew, they eat 10 nuts every day, we are looking at good 50,000-60,000 tons. So why not we start all that promotion at home ourselves? I don't think people are doing that.
You remind me of my discussion in India when I was with my colleagues in a club. There we were discussing of organizing generic promotion of cashews. You know, and we were just discussing how we should go about it in terms. And then suddenly we saw a plate of cashews coming into our table. We were actually eating peanuts. And somebody listening to us in the next table sent us a cashew nut. First you eat, and then you start talking about promotions. You are right. We all need to do it in our own capacity. There is no doubt about it. So should we look at one more question? Somebody else?
All right. Let that be the final one, because we are not out of time. We are dangerously out of time, and we are too close to the cocktails, and it's not here. The conference got over like yesterday.
Hello, good evening. This is Akshit Okrani from Munada Commodities. I will have a quick questions. My question is from the experts. What are your thoughts on the increased interest rates recently? Like even in the earlier, Mr. Long talked about the increased interest rate in Vietnam, and we can also see in Pakistan, Argentina, and many countries. So how can this impact on the agriculture commodities trade and overall cashews industry specifically? Thank you.
So see, our commodity, mainly agro commodity and basically cashews, this kind of commodity has a higher cycle time. So with interest rate increasing in last 18 months, what we have seen is that the holding power of a person or a processor, a trader has significantly gone down. Which means that if today a processor has to hold the cashews and process and then sell at a better price, that capability or the holding power to get a better realization definitely has been impacted. Second, with increased timing for sales now, which goes to Europe because of the Red Sea issues, we have seen again that the pricing takes an impact because the end consumer still wants the cashew at the same price, maybe at a $2.5. But today the interest cost for the shipper has increased because of the increased cycle time there also. So first is definitely the processor and the trader, both are having an impact in their terms of margins and realization. If it continues for a long term, maybe 12 months more, we might see many players scaling down the volumes, or also smaller ones might exit the business. I think the only good way or the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel is interest rates might correct now soon, and I have seen an improvement already. Hopefully by quarter 3 to quarter 4, we might see interest rates coming down to, let's say, 4.5-5% on the global basis. But if you see Asia today, Asia is still somehow being bullish and increasing at 7% GDP. Today the interest rates in Vietnam, China, Philippines, everywhere is close to 4.5%. Even Japan is at 3.5% today. So that way is, I think in Asia, not too much impact. But Europe and US, definitely consumption is going to take a hit.
All right. Thank you, Gaurav, sir, for that amazing, comprehensive response. You wish to add to this?
No, I just want to sum up. Yes, he answered that very well. You also need to understand, look at the possibilities of cross-currency also. Japan is now on a negative interest rate, so I think there's possibility for us to doing some cross-currency trade to cut down the cost of interest. So that's another debate altogether, but I think let's give the panel a very big round of applause because they did a wonderful job.
A resounding round of applause, everyone. What an interesting discussion. We have overshot this by more than 45 minutes, but I don't see anyone complaining, and that is the success of the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to request our fantastic chairperson of the session, Mr. Kalbavi, to present a memento to each one of our speakers, starting with ladies first, Ms. Sweta Jain. So ladies and gentlemen, as the memento comes up, we've been talking about, ourselves becoming the brand ambassadors for Cashew. The World Cashew Conference is your platform. I want to find out how many of you have been using the hashtag WCC 2024 in your photos. Anyone? A round of applause. Inviting a big thank you to Mr. Vasudev Barkur for his patience and his presence throughout. Thank you so much, sir. And inviting Mr. Abel, Santos, Sáez, Mr. Gaurav, Patil, and finally Mr. Rengarajan. I would like to invite on stage from ETG Ms. Julie Ludvigsen to please join us on the stage to present a memento to Mr. Kalbavi Prakash Rao. Well, she's supposed to be presenting this to you, sir, and the men are doing the honors. Let's make some noise. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to rise up for a group picture up front. Ladies and gentlemen, we see you from 7 o'clock onwards at the pool side, which would be tough to miss for you. The entries through the Jasmine Spa lobby, and we see you there from 7 o'clock onwards for barbecue, drinks and some musical entertainment. Dress comfortable, dress to party and to have a good time. Keep the weather in mind. Thank you. Okay, thumbs up everyone, a quick video reel as he... Sweta ma'am, Julie ma'am, please, a quick video. Your thumbs up going out together. Thank you.